So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Lee Web 2012 discussions in London. It's specifically this discussion between Andrew Keane and Robert Scoble discussing this idea of the muddling of the private and public sphere as it relates to the increasing use of social media. Andrew Keane is definitely the anti-social media, anti-muddling proponent, and Scoble takes a side of he's very pro-social media um, and pro-muddling. To start, though, I want to talk a little bit about the mediation. I don't necessarily think that mediation went in the way that it should have. I find that Milo, who was the mediator, seemed to take Keene's side on several issues or at several different points in time, um, and because of that, I don't really like that. I don't really like that aspect. But he also came off as a little bit pretentious at some points, specifically when he asks Robert Scoble to use highlight to find somebody in the audience that he doesn't like. It sort of seems like he's setting Scoble up. Um, but anyways, uh, Andrew Keane, according to Milo, is this shining voice of common sense in an industry gone mad. And I don't entirely agree with that. I kind of see Andrew Keane as being like a grouchy older person. As far as appearances go, it definitely seems that Andrew Keane is older than Scoble. Um, so maybe that has a little bit to do with his viewpoints on social media. Um, Keane sees social media as being very invasive of people's privacy. He fears this oversharing, which would lead to the public and private spheres becoming one. But Scoble does a good job of defending social media in that he puts uh, that he posits people can put what they want on social media. They don't have to put everything about them. Signing up for Facebook doesn't. You're not signing an agreement to say that you're going to post on Facebook ever, or that you're going to get any friends. Uh, but it also is an agreement that you only are allowed to post so much. So it really depends on the person, in my opinion, how much is going on Facebook. Keane also believes that the identity as human beings is being whittled away, and what I took from it is he's saying that this idea that privacy is a dwindling aspect as a result of social media means that humans aren't living are missing this concept from their life. Um, but I don't really agree with that. What I see from social media is it's adding or it's allowing us to build up this idea of like human interaction being a key part of being a human being. For instance, if I wanted to go and befriend somebody on Facebook who lives, in India, I could do that. Whereas the only other way I could do that would be to travel halfway across the world or be really convincing in my tech support calls. Um, uh, Scoble uh, Scoble sees social media as bringing a lot of good things, especially to his life. He's got relatively famous off of it, um, but he also sees that social media can help when you don't know something. For instance, when you're in his case, when he's in London, if he wants to go get food at a Thai restaurant, he can ask his Facebook followers, where's the best Thai restaurant in London, and he'll get 10 different answers, but it'll give him a pretty good idea of where to go. Me being an out-of-state student, when I came to NYC, I didn't really know where anything was other than the big touristy attractions that you hear about all the time. Times Square, Central Park, the Statue of Liberty. So social media and the people I followed on Twitter helped a lot with figuring out things to do, things to get me to to bring me some interaction within the city. So for me personally, it's been very helpful discovering this great city that is New York. Um, but Keen seems to think that social media is only for people who are very narcissistic and are looking for like self-satisfaction, looking for more and specifically through more followers. Um, I don't really agree with that, and nor does Scoble. He sees it as bringing a chance to build your career if possible, or bring you new opportunities. A little personal anecdote from my life is I actually have two friends back home who started a business on Facebook. They started a t-shirt company. They do screen printing and tie dyeing, and they actually are a certified business in the city of Clear Lake, and wound up getting scholarships for having their own business and being under 18. So that's a pretty cool thing for them. And Keen really doesn't focus that much on the positive side. He's very pessimistic towards it, and I think that has a little bit to do with his personality. Towards the end of the discussion, he goes on to say he doesn't have any friends or any relationships, but he's a much happier person for that now. I don't think he means it in the sense that somebody who wasn't paying attention would take it. I think he means as he's not on social media, and therefore he doesn't have any social media friends or social media relations, and he's a happier person for that. Which, you know, to each his own. I mean, I'm sure he's a wonderful person, though he definitely doesn't show it in this case. Um, I find that Scoble does a lot more talking about the good and the bad of social media. He does bring up this idea that social media can become very addictive in nature. Uh, People who don't know how to put the phone down or don't know when to put the phone down, driving and going on Twitter, Facebook, or texting and ending up dying because they get in a car crash. But he also, talks about the good, uh, which I mean, it's tit for tat, really. You can't separate the two. It comes with it. It depends on the person whether or not you're able to make sure it doesn't become an addiction for you. But he brings up a few good points. A few points that I agree with this idea that people can get in trouble for posting like drunken photos, or Scoble talks about this idea that people get in trouble for posting drunken photos. Um, But again, that just reverts back to the idea that people get to choose what they put on. They don't have to put certain things on if they don't want to. Keen believes also that social media sites are selling your personal information, which Scoble refutes, and I don't know how true it is. His refutation, especially with the new developments from Facebook and all the complaints with the terms and agreements from Facebook. But Scoble goes on says that they don't sell your personal information; they sell access to you. So that selling access to you can be sort of helpful, because a lot of what the advertising on Facebook and Twitter is it takes what you've purchased or what you've looked for online and online shopping, um, and it advertises items like similar to those items to you. So that sort of thing can be kind of helpful. Um, then Keen talks about the future of social media, the next big thing being privacy, which I believe is probably going to be true, and I look forward to it. I mean, there's there's something to be said for being able to keep more private. It sort of helps with the unknown. I just don't think it's as black and white as Andrew Keen makes it. Um, as far as the black and whiteness goes, Scoble talks about this idea of a freaky line. I prefer to call it like a gray area, where people will change their behavior with regards to that. They may not. They'll post less or more um, freaky things, depending on what kind of person they are. But Scoble talks about this idea, and he's a proponent of it, that you can link to the cloud, like places you want to, where you've gone, so you don't have to do it yourself. Which to me, that's kind of scary. That's sort of Big Brother-ish. Like somebody can monitor where you are at any time, or know where you are at any time. That's a little bit. That's something to be fearful of. But that's not the big point that Scoble's trying to make. He's trying to show that as a benefit um, of social media sites, kind of. It kind of allows him to be a little bit lazy, even though he wouldn't consider himself being lazy there. Um, but then Keene talks about this idea of social media making things faster than real time, uh, where like companies and people can know our intentionality. This idea that I can walk into like a McDonald's or what have you, and they know I want what order I want to make, what drink I want to go with it, and everything. And, and he sees that as being a very negative thing, but Scoble, and I agree with Scoble wholeheartedly in this point, is that can be a very good, that can be an awesome thing. It allows people, it allows us to do away with like uh, needless interaction, really, uh, by me being able to walk into a restaurant and have them bring me what I want. It saves me time, it saves them time. Um, so I sort of think it's a win-win situation. Um, one one thing I do agree about, or a few points that I do agree about with Keene, is this idea that because of the ability to filter what you get to see, the information you get on social media sites can become stuff that only your own ideas are concerned, or only your own ideas are served, which is it messes up his idea of this. It's becoming a problem for human inquiry. He What you're allowed to, or what you view, is going to be more in line with your your already held views, your previously held prejudices, and that can be a bad thing. People may be misinformed, and their misinformation can be drawn out because of social media to some extent. But he also believes that uh, Keene does, that social media is destroying serendipity. This I absolutely do not agree with, specifically because serendipity in and of itself means if you want one thing and people know you like that one thing, as is possible with social media, um, somebody might bring you something better. Somebody might bring you something that you like more that you didn't know you would like, and that, in its essence, is what serendipity is. You get to find new things that are better than the things that you had before. And Scoble brings up that advertising has been doing that sort of thing for years, and I think that's very important to note. Is what social media doing is not unheard of. It's not some new concept of how to get in touch with people. Instead, it's just a new way of using old ideas and old techniques to become more interactive with people. Um, and because of that, I definitely don't see social media as being a bad thing, or social media as being an invasion of your privacy. So for the most part, I wholeheartedly disagree with what Keene has to say. Though I don't necessarily think what Robert Scoble has done with his social media life is a positive thing either, because I see people becoming famous off of social media as being as being an inherently bad thing. I don't think that, for the most part, people who do get famous off social media um, contribute positively to the world. So, um, being famous for being famous is generally a bad thing, but it just refers back to this idea that when you want to go on Facebook or any social media sites, you get to put up there, and nobody else gets to make that decision for you. And because of that, I think social media is not an invasion of privacy. It's not this idea that this big brother tool to ensure that you can be monitored at all times. I think it's generally a good natured, well thought out, and well devised means of interacting further with your fellow human. And for that reason, I think social media is a very good thing.